Om Ajnanatimiraandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripye Vancha Kalpata Rubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paridanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you everyone for joining today. So we'll continue our discussion from last week. The last week Krishna discussed about various sacrifices. What is the idea of sacrifice? Idea of sacrifice is that one does things which are beyond his own selfish interest. Generally, anybody does some work, there is an interest that one has. Primarily, it is one's own interest. Primarily, it is self-interest. Self-interest in the sense that for sense gratification. People do things for satisfying their senses. When we say sacrifice, it is for the long-term benefit, not for the short-term benefit. So the actions generally people do are for the short-term benefit. So when we say sacrifice, these are also ultimately for your self-interest, but it is the higher self-interest, the soul. We have a body that is also self, the mind, and the subtle body that is also self, but the soul, that is our real self. When you perform an action in the interest of the soul, that becomes a sacrifice. Okay, and Krishna discussed various sacrifices, Jnana Yajna or Ashtanga Yoga. In various ways, people who perform demigod worship. So all of those are various sacrifices. Last 4 verses we discussed. Now Krishna will just summarize and compare things to see and explain for us what is the highest of all. This is breath restraint. 30th. Sarve api ete jnanavido yajna kshabita kalmasha yajna sistamata bhujo yanti brahma sanatanam. Nitin Prabhu, can you please read?
Yeah, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the result of sacrifices, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere.
The primary purpose of sacrifice is sacrifice purifies us. If we had done some bad karmas in the past, sacrifice helps to cleanse that. The sacrifice cleanses the sinful reactions. Not discussed in this, but in the 11th chapter, Krishna says, of all the sacrifice, Krishna says, japa is the highest sacrifice. So by performing this japa of chanting the holy name that we do, like at the beginning of the class also we did for first 8 minutes, So that japa yajna, what does it do? It cleanses of all the sinful reactions done in the past, many thousands of millions of lifetimes. It cleanses all of that. And having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifices, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere. So this yogi who has done these sacrifices and ultimately cleansed of all the sinful reactions, what does it what happens to him? He would actually, attain salvation, and he goes back to Vaikuntha, spiritual planets. So that's the result of sacrifices. And he will also taste the nectar of the results of sacrifices. Even in this world, one who performs sacrifice, he will be peaceful, satisfied. Right? That's why we recommend everybody to chant. By chanting every day, you are performing sacrifice. Yeah? So how is it a sacrifice? Right? Because that time could be used for your own personal happiness, the sense gratification. But you are dedicating the time for God. And what are you doing? You are offering your consciousness to God. Means in your mind, you are thinking about God. So when you are thinking in that way, you're offering your consciousness. Sacrifice means you offer something, right? So the Ashtanga yogis offer the breath, right, to control the mind. Jnana yogis study Swadhyaya, they study scriptures, Vedas, to understand the purpose of life. So in this way, everybody sacrifices their time and pursues after God. Right? And through japa also, you're offering your consciousness. That's it. Offering of the consciousness is the highest, because the consciousness is the highest of all the elements. You can offer your breath. Breath is also an element. You can offer your mind. That's also an element. You can offer your intelligence through study of scripture. That is also an offering. But offering your consciousness is the highest. So that's why it is the highest of all. Right? One may wonder, oh, how is that japa is the highest? Because you are offering your consciousness. In the ideal situation, you actually offer your complete consciousness. You completely absorb in chanting of the holy name. So when you do like that, it is an offering. It's a sacrifice. Yeah. So from the foregoing explanation of different sacrifices, namely sacrifices of one's position, one can offer, his riches. You can construct temples, you can construct old age homes, you can construct anothalayas, physical uh, offering physical things. That's also a sacrifice. But that is the lowest actually. Study of Vedas or philosophical doctrines to understand and inquire about the purpose of life. This is higher than just merely offering your positions. And then performance of yoga system. How is it better than this one? Study means learning, right? Inquiring, and learning is only a theory part. Ultimately, you have to practice. So this is higher than that. Performance of yoga means you actually sit down and chant japa, or you meditate. So yoga, performance of yoga is higher than inquiry itself, or study of scriptures. So it is found that common aim of all is to control the senses. Sense gratification is the root cause of material existence. Why we exist in the material world? This is the reason. We want to gratify our senses all the time. We want to feed nice food to your tongue. Touch the softest things with your hands. Smell the most aromatic things through your nose. So in this way, the senses are always looking after gratification. They want to taste, think about the things that will give you happiness materially, right? So that is the cause of our existence here, because we want to do that. What will God do? Okay, you like to do continue enjoying these things, okay, continue to stay in this material, because that is our desire. What is our desire? Desire is to gratify our senses. So as long as we have the desire, yes, punarapi mananam, punarapi, enjoy as long as you want in this world. Therefore, unless and until one is situated on a platform apart from sense gratification, there is no chance of being elevated to the eternal platform of full knowledge, full bliss, and full life. This platform is in the eternal atmosphere or Brahman atmosphere. All the above mentioned sacrifice help one to become cleansed of the sinful reactions of material existence. Okay? To achieve anything higher, we need to sacrifice the lower, right? That is our experience. If a child or if a young man wants to get into IIT, he cannot continue to play the way he was playing until his 10th grade. He might be playing a couple of hours every day in the evening, but for those 2 years, +1, +2, he has to focus on his education, attend some classes, work hard. So in this way, when he sacrifices his lower desires, he can achieve higher things. So similarly, so when we want to achieve higher things, we need to perform sacrifices. So lower things, means sense gratification should be avoided. So by this advancement in life, not only does one become happy and opulent in this life, but also at the end, he enters into the eternal kingdom of God, either merging into the impersonal Brahman or associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So through this sacrifice, one attains the ultimate goal of life, right? It could be merging into Brahman, or it could be going back to Vaikuntha based on one's spiritual goal.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So this sacrifice is what I like, and what you are explaining is it's become cleansed on sinful reactions. So when we say sinful reaction, you also said it's a bad karma. So bad karma, does it count like a sukarma, kukarma combined, or it's only kukarma?
Yes, karma includes both good and bad. Not just
Okay. So all the material reactions, everything.
all material forces. So your good karma is also not good ultimately, right? Because
Right.
good karma gives you happiness. You may be promoted to higher planets, Swargaloka, where you enjoy with your senses a lot, right? So it's neither good.
Yes, Prabhu. And then one more question is, in the translation, you explain about that how we need to practice this.
Yeah.
But in the translation, it says all these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice. Now, when do we connect the piece where we say know the meaning versus practicing? Kind of. How do we
Yeah,
understand?
it's not just knowing, it is actually practicing. No,
Oh,
unless
it's always practicing is what
you
we should have.
practice, it, that's why I always ask you, and also I will chant with you during the class, because we need to do japa. Just theoretical knowledge is not going to satisfy, or it's not going to give us the full result. Right? Every day we have to chant. We have to make it a habit, because that is the real thing that. So all these classes are to inspire us to chant, of course. And if we don't hear the class, we lose the motivation to be God conscious and chant the names every day. Right? We need that motivation, charging our batteries. Right? We charge our batteries every week through these classes. With that inspiration, we go out and every day we chant. Without chanting, yeah, it's very difficult to progress spiritually. All this knowledge is just a theory, right?
Yes.
Just like in college also we need to do experiments. Without experiments, we don't really gain much knowledge, especially lab work, right? For example, you're a software engineer, you studied computer science, you learn some languages, right? Python or Java, and you don't practice in the lab code. Will you be able to use your skill at all? No, right?
Yeah.
It's almost it's as good as not learning. So it's like that. I mean, yoga and philosophy. Both are important. One is theory, and one is
Practice.
yeah.
Sure,
Both are
Prabhu.
important.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Explain.
Thank you. This is a two
I have
line.
one quick question. It said merging into the impersonal Brahman. What does that mean exactly?
Merging into impersonal Brahman means, so there is Brahma Jyoti beyond the material existence. So there are levels of existence. One is this material existence, material universes, which are like, you know, Andantarastha Paramanu, Chayantarastha, it's like an egg-shaped universe, material universe. Within this universe, there are thousands and thousands of planets. So beyond this, there are many such universes. One quick. I don't know if we have discussed this.
Yeah, you have shared a video previously, Prabhuji, the one that is there in the
Correct.
new bill also, right?
So this is the material universe. This is like this egg shape.
Yeah.
Beyond this, so these are all universes that are floating in Brahma Jyoti. It's called Totality of Consciousness. Right? So this Brahma Jyoti is considered the energy emanating from the Supreme Lord. Right? So like if you see, all these are all universes. Within each universe, there is Mahavishnu again. But this is Karanodaksa Vishnu, is the source Vishnu, and within all these, yeah. So all these universes that are floating, they are floating in Brahman, Brahma Jyoti or Brahman. It's called Brahman. Brahman is it's super consciousness. Basically, it's Satchidananda. Okay, so when so one's realization can be just the Brahman. It need not be the personality of Godhead, Krishna. So this is what most of the impersonalists go after, like Ramana Maharshi and many of these Siddha Purushas. They actually are after uh, uh, Brahman. So one can merge into Brahman. That is one. It's called Sahyajya Mukti. So that's also one kind of liberation. But Bhagavatam describes that's not the highest. Meaning, even there, again, one lives in a very blissful state, but again, there is no engagement for this soul. Soul by nature is active and it wants to serve. That's the nature of the soul. So, either one can liberate into Brahma Jyoti and there live for, gazillions of years, right? And then again, they'll not stay forever because soul is active and they come back and perform. These people who come as great rishis, and again they perform some kind of good work in this world. Again they do meditation. So again there is a chance of coming back. But one goes to spiritual planets, as described in Bhagavatam, one doesn't come back because there one is fully satisfied. because he's completely engaged in the service of the Lord there. So this is also one type of liberation as described in Bhagavad, Sayudhya. And there are Samipya, Salopya, Sarupya, Ekatva. So there are several types of liberation. This is one type of liberation because this can be achieved by people who are not just bhaktas. This can be achieved by jnanis and yogis as well. Okay, so those are. So this is basically, this chapter is primarily karma yoga, where the principle is sacrifice. When one performs actions that are not centered around one's own sense gratification, one attains knowledge. Through that knowledge, one attains liberation. And if he's just a karma yogi alone, he can achieve this impersonal Brahmajyoti as his the goal. Is that clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Nayam lokosti ayajnasya kutonya kurusattama. Just a 2-line verse. Now, yeah, Archana, what is can you read?
O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next?
Yeah. So without sacrifice, most of the people in this world, they try to enjoy as much as they can, right? They work for 5 days and then they want to go to party or some kind of disco or whatever. People have different habits, right? Or some parks or something, and spend their time and think that they become happy. But unfortunately, the soul is not satisfied through such actions. Right? So one is always, there is some kind of dissatisfaction in the heart. People are never satisfied until they understand what is the purpose of life, why am I here, and what is the real goal of life, and how do I work. When you work towards the real goal, then you have some kind of a baseline satisfaction for your life. At least I understand, I live according to scriptures. Yes, Bhagavad Gita is saying you work like this, and I'm working like that. So then there is some kind of baseline satisfaction. Without performance of sacrifice, one's heart is not satisfied. One can try to enjoy in various ways. One can get best cars, best homes, work hard at office and get recognition. All these things are very temporary. They give you happiness, but they are very short term oriented. Very soon you will, suppose you are a student and you work very hard and you become the number one. How long will you be happy? Or you got into IIT. How long will you be happy? Maybe for a month or so, that's it. After that, you don't think that the first time you buy a car, you felt very happy. But how long are you happy with that? After a few days, it is something that you must need. Right? Without that, you can't even live. The first time you got a smartphone, it was a great experience. But how long is that? So in this way, anything that we achieve or we try to get to satisfy our senses is a very short-term oriented. So we can't really base our happiness on temporary things of this world like that. You can acquire any number of things. You can be the richest person, but you cannot be satisfied. If people can be satisfied with just riches, why would the richest people go through divorces? The richest of all in the world, why do they go through divorces? Means they can't even live together with all these riches. Imagine, right? So now we can clearly see from those examples how this verse is so valid. One can never live happily. We think they are, because they are riches, they are they have the biggest companies in the world, under their control, they are the happiest people, right? We think like that, but they're not actually. They're very, very sad people in their, in their personal lives. They have so many ego problems with so many people. So many people are trying to dominate them in their, industry. It's a pain, real pain to be in those positions. Actually, people think that they become happy. That is the reason they pursue. Will they pursue without such a problem? Why anybody does anything in this world? To become happy. That is the goal of life. But they fully focused on material progress and material happiness. And they now eventually they couldn't even live as a family after 30, 40 years of family life. They are now separated, right? The richest people in the world. They want to, they just don't want to deal with each other completely. So that is the, that is the nature of this world. The more you have, the more you become miserable in this world. That is how it is. So no, so that's what it says. Without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of next? We are people, we are not even trying to be happy in this world. We want to achieve the higher goal of achieving, going beyond this material existence. So this is the most meaningful way of living our life, actually speaking. You may not understand, you are the rarest of the rarest people in this world, I would say. That's why you don't see so many people, right? In this kind of classes, you see like 10, 15 people. How many people are there in Samamish? How many people are there in, the city of Redmond? How many people are in the, in the state of Washington? But very few people will take such interest, because the nature of this world is everybody wants to gratify their senses. That is the goal. Even we have those desires. It's not that we don't have, but we are trying to go beyond our, beyond our own basic sensory interests. Right? We are trying to understand the purpose of life. We're trying to pursue a path that gives lasting happiness and lasting satisfaction. That is very admirable. Krishna himself says, these people are very, very rare. Right? One who tries to understand the purpose of life. Right? Manushanam sahasreshu. Out of thousands of people, one wants to inquire about the purpose of life. Out of thousands of people, he says. Manushanam sahasreshu. Sahasra means thousands. Manushanam sahasreshu. Kaschid yatati siddhaya. Yatatam siddhanam. I forgot the last line. But the whole point is, out of thousands of people, thousands of men, one tries to inquire the purpose of life. Out of thousands of people who inquire, one actually achieves the ultimate goal of life. Okay? One may be inquisitive, but he never does any work. He wouldn't learn Gita, he wouldn't practice any yoga. So ultimately, he wouldn't achieve it. But he's on the path. So next life, he'll get more opportunities to continue. But again, until you practice and until you purify yourself completely, you won't achieve perfection, right? So both theoretical knowledge and some practice is needed. Yeah. So whatever form of material existence one is in, one is invariably ignorant of his real situation. In other words, existence in the material world is due to the multiple reactions to our sinful lives. Ignorance is the cause of sinful life, and sinful life is the cause of one's dragging on in material existence. The human form of life is the only loophole by which one may get out of this entanglement. So this is a great opportunity. We all have human body. Last week we discussed, right? Because in this human body, You can question, you can inquire. In other forms of life, there is no inquiry. There is just following, the needs of body. The animals, what do? They always search for food, always search for opposite sex, always try to find an opportunity to sleep, and always find an opportunity to defend themselves. That's all they do. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But human being can inquire, question, why am I here? Why am I suffering in this world? So that's why it said a loophole. So the first Vedanta Sutra is Atato Brahma Jignasa. Now, therefore, you inquire into absolute truth. Why now? Why not yesterday? Why not tomorrow? Now, right now, you inquire because you have a human form. Previously, you may have an animal form, but right now, you have the opportunity of human form. Do not waste your lifetime in just pursuing material happiness and material enjoyment. Focus on the real self and achieve the perfection of it. This is a loophole. This is an opportunity. Exploit it for your ultimate good. The Vedas, therefore, just give us a chance for escaping by pointing out the path of religion, economic comfort, regulated sense gratification, and at last the means to get out of the miserable condition of life. Dharma, Artha, economic comfort, Kama, regulated sense gratification, and at last moksha, which is the means to get out of the middle conditions entirely. The path of religion or the different kinds of sacrifices recommended above automatically solves our economical problems. Means one who performs his dharma. Path of religion doesn't mean just Hinduism, or path of religion means the practice of dharma. It could be your own work plus according to the codes of Vedas. By performance of yajna, we can have enough food, enough milk, etc. Even if there is a so-called increase of population. So population increase is not a threat at all.
What happened?
You wanted me to give you this.
What is that? I don't want that right now, particularly.
Yeah. So population increase will not be a problem in this world at all. The world has enough to satisfy everybody. The world has enough to satisfy everybody. I will answer Rinku Mata's your question. There is no scarcity in this world, right? There are millions and billions and billions of living entities in this world. Who is providing so many gallons of food every single day to elephant in the forest? It is provided in the nature, naturally. God as a father, he provides for everybody's needs, not for everybody's greed, right? So everybody, before we are sent here to this existence, God is already provided. But why there is sometimes scarcity? It is because of our own human greediness and human. Sometimes some countries dump their grains or fruits, not to not to deflate the price, not to go down the price. Right? Instead, they could have supplied to a lesser fortunate country or lesser fortunate place. So, because of human intervention and human manipulation, there is sometimes an appearance of scarcity. But otherwise, humans can grow tenfold. The earth can support, because that's the capacity of earth. And as we follow religion, when one follows one's dharma sincerely, the earth would be so much more happy to provide more and more. It is described in Bhagavatam how people were extremely happy during the rulership of King Yudhishthira. The entire world was under his rulership, and nature was so supportive. And there was timely rain, timely, the crop would be abundant. The cows would give so much milk that every home is filled with all the basic necessities very happily. Everybody was so happy, and everybody has time. There is no untimely death. It is because the king is very pure. The king lived according to the rules of the Vedas. And so naturally, and he also ensured everybody followed Vedas in his kingdom. And so naturally, the Mother Earth, Earth is like a mother. Mother would be very happy to give anything to children if the children are obedient, isn't it? But if suppose the children are sometimes pinching mother with a needle, or they keep troubling her, causing her distress all the time, just to teach a lesson, what would mother do sometimes? She would not give everything to her, to the children, because they would spoil it. She knows that. That's exactly what happens even in the scenario of our own earth. Earth can give abundantly for everybody's needs. But as soon as people try to, exploit earth for their own gratification, digging completely, deep holes, or creating atom bombs and throwing on each other. If we try to spoil her and try to basically exploit nature, nature would not be supportive. There won't be timely rain, there won't be timely good crops. So it is just a nature's reaction. That's why we are not seeing the kind of life now, the way it was during Yudhishthira Maharaj. Right? But so these are problems that people say because they don't see anything beyond, they don't have any knowledge of scriptures. Oh, population is a big problem. It's not a problem actually. It's just uh, our own kind of understanding, which is wrong actually. So there was a question in the chat. Which one is spiritual planet? Rinku Mataji. So there are so many spiritual planets, Mataji. In fact, the people who are living in the material existence are 10%. Rest of the living entities are all in the spiritual planets. There are so many millions of Vaikuntha planets, and also Brahmajyoti is there. So the living entities are spread all over in the spiritual planets as well as material planets. The material planetary systems hold the fewer living entities because these are living entities who rebelled against the Lord, right? So they are minute. Just like when you have a city, there will be so many law-abiding citizens, and there will be few people who do not follow the law. Who will be the majority? Who will be put in the jail, right? So the city, when they plan, they would also plan a jail because there will be always people who would violate the laws. There is a police station everywhere, right? So similarly, and the number of people in the police station are always less. So that's why the people in the material existence, like all of us, we are in fact the minority category in the totality of existence. The people who are in the spiritual planets, they are abundant. They are they are like 1 to 10. They are like 10 times of us. Okay, so liberation appears to be a great thing for us, but it is nothing actually. Everybody in the spiritual planet is fully in line, in harmony with the Supreme Law. So for us, it is a big deal. Oh, we got liberated, we say, right? But That's not at all a big deal. Actually, in fact, we're all from there. We are, by mistake, we are here in this existence right now. So, and the planets, as shown in this picture, this picture is drawn according to the descriptions of Bhagavatam. So these are all material planets but there is another picture that shows spiritual planets. But there are infinite of them. I don't see the picture, but understand that. So there are material universes, they are floating in the Brahmajyoti, and there are spiritual higher planets that are far above that. So let's read this. The Vedas prescribe, therefore, sacred marriage for a regulated sense gratification. Thereby, one is gradually elevated to the platform of release from material bondage, and the highest perfection of liberated life is to associate with the Supreme Lord. Perfection is achieved by performance of yajna, as described above. Now, if a person is not inclined to perform yajna, according to the Vedas, how can he expect a happy life even in this body? And what to speak of another body or another planet? There are different grades of material comforts in different planetary, heavenly planets. One can also, go to higher planets within this material existence. They will be happier, like Swargaloka is within this material existence only. It's a higher planet. Again, there will be birth, death. All in the material existence, there is always birth, death, old age, and disease. Only in Vaikunthas there is no birth, death, old age, and disease. Even though you go to Indraloka or Chandraloka, all these higher planets, the problem is again it's a temporary life there. It's not, so we are not after those. And in all cases, there is immense happiness for a person engaged in different kinds of yajna. But the highest kind of happiness that a man can achieve is to be promoted to the spiritual planet by practice of Krishna consciousness. A life of Krishna consciousness is therefore the solution to all problems of material existence. Evam bahu vidayajna vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan viditan sarvan evam jnatva vimokshase. Yeah. Who would like to read? Rani Mataji, can you read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated.
Yeah. So all the sacrifices that are mentioned above, they're all prescribed in the Vedas. And all of them involve work. It's not just theoretical knowledge. You have to work. You have to perform Ashtanga Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. You need to perform work. Without that, none of these would result in any, will not give any result. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Now there is a comparison between the different sacrifices. Shreyan Dravya Mayadhyajnaj Jnanayajna Parantapa Sarvam Karma Kilam Partha Jnane Parisamapyate. Rashmi Mataji, please read. Rashmi Mataji, are you here? No. Okay. Sagar Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pratha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge.
The sacrifice performed in knowledge, you have to have knowledge, is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. Somebody may give charity simply, without really understanding who they are, because whatever you have in this world is a temporary position, right? So one who does not understand thinks that he is the owner of it, and he sacrifices people, to others, poor people. That's not very, it's not a very high grade sacrifice. Sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. Just giving out something, it's not going to really, of much benefit. After all, O son of Pita, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. All sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. The benefit of sacrifice is one ultimately achieves knowledge. He will achieve transcendental knowledge, means the knowledge of who is God, what is my purpose in this world, and what is the pathway back for me. So now you are all being part of the class. That is also a kind of sacrifice, because you are sacrificing your own personal time. You could have gone to a movie, or you could have gone to an ice cream parlor. You could have done so many things, but you sacrifice your time for attending. It's called Swadhyaya Yajna. So what happens with the sacrifice? You will achieve transcendental knowledge. The purpose of all sacrifices is to arrive at the status of complete knowledge, then to gain release from material miseries, and ultimately to engage in loving transcendental service to the Supreme Lord. So ultimately, the inspiration to love the Supreme Lord comes as part of sacrifice. You'll gain release from material miseries and engage in loving service. Nonetheless, there is a mystery about all these different activities of sacrifice, and one should know this mystery. Sacrifice sometimes takes different forms according to the particular faith of the performer. When one's faith reaches the stage of transcendental knowledge, the performer of sacrifices should be considered more advanced than those who simply sacrifice material possessions without such knowledge. If you understand you are not this body, you are a spirit soul, and whatever you have in this world is the mercy of the Lord, right? You are a trustee of what you have in this world, and you perform sacrifice with that knowledge, any work for that matter. So then such a person is considered more advanced. Yeah. Without such knowledge, without attainment of knowledge, sacrifice remains on the material platform and bestow no spiritual benefit. For example, Bill Gates is now donating so many things. Will that give him any transcendental benefit? No, because he is just doing on the material platform. So what is the result of such work? He may go to a he may go to a higher planet because of all the sacrifices he is doing on the material platform. He may go to Swargaloka, and there he can live for say 10,000 years happily, enjoy every single day. Material sacrifice, material profit. You will get punya karma with that. With punya karma, you will be given sense gratification, more sense gratification. Right? So it is not very good actually, because the problem is, after you exhaust your good karma, again you have to come to karma bhumi, which is the bhu bhuvar loka, these middle planetary systems, and again accumulate karma again. It's like that. So it's a circling back and forth within the material planets. It's not a sane choice. Real knowledge culminates in Krishna consciousness, the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. Without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifice are simply material activities. When, however, they are elevated to the level of transcendental knowledge, all such activities enter onto the spiritual platform. The same activity, but you have transcendental knowledge, it becomes an activity on the spiritual platform. It removes your karma completely. See, the point is here. Depending on differences in consciousness, sacrificial activities are sometimes called karma kanda and sometimes jnana kanda. It is better when the end is knowledge. It's better you have knowledge of who you are, and with that perform sacrifice. That is always the better one. So now is a very powerful verse. Please listen very carefully. So after describing all these sacrifices, Krishna talks about the method in which one can achieve transcendental knowledge. The goal of sacrifice is to achieve transcendental knowledge, but to achieve it, one needs more than just a mere pursuit of the transcendental knowledge. One needs the help of a guide. So that is going to be described here. Tad vidhi pranipatena. You can all read with me because this is a very powerful verse. You can unmute yourself and just read after me. Did you all unmute yourself?
Yes, bro.
Yeah, please. Tad vidhi
pranipatena pariprasni
upadeksha jnaninas tattvadarshana.
yantite
Let's do like this. It's easy.
Yes, sir. You said something.
Yeah, let's do like this. So I will read one line. You can read after me together, all of you together, right? And then I'll read the second line. You can read after me. Right? So that's how we generally read verses. Tad vidhi pranipatena
tadvidhi pranipatena
pariprashnena sevaya
pariprasnena sevaya
upadekshanti te jnanam
upadekshanti te jnanam
jnaninas tattvadarshina.
jnaninas tattvadarshina.
Tad vidhi pranipatena. The meaning is, pranipatena means humble. One should humble oneself. And then pariprashnena, inquire. And perform sevaya means serve. There are three things mentioned. One should humble oneself, one should inquire about the absolute truth, and then one should perform seva or service. Then what happens? To whom should they do? Jnaninas means a spiritual master or a guru. One should do these three things to a guru. And then upadekshanti te jnanam. They will give you the knowledge. We cannot get spiritual knowledge just by reading a book. You get some theoretical idea of it, but you don't get it really. You don't really acquire it to a degree where you can really realize it. So it is by the blessing and the mercy of a guru one gets it. Jnaninas tattvadarshana means the jnanis have already realized the absolute truth. They will show you the path. Okay? Now who is the fortunate one who will read this? Sri Vidya Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth.
Right? Only a person who has seen the truth can give us the real knowledge. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. And what is the why one should approach and how one should approach? By submissively inquiring. Pranipatena, pariprashna. Pranipatena means humbly. Pariprashnena means inquire. Not just blindly follow the guru. We know many gurus who teach, who have thousands of disciples, and they try to, they become followers. But unfortunately, these teachers do not give any real spiritual knowledge from scriptures. They just, give something that they have practiced, and these people don't even inquire. Right? One should not blindly follow a guru. Right? Absurd inquiries are also not good. Means inquiries that are not really relevant to spiritual benefit. One should inquire for the right things. Right? One should not go to a guru and ask how they can get a promotion, or that's not a good use of guru stuff. It's not about how you can get some suggestion for marriage and all. One should inquire about the purpose of life. Why am I suffering in this world? And get a solution from it. Yeah? Submissive means understanding that I don't know the truth. First thing is, if you think you know something, then you can never learn from the person who you are asking. Right? If you already made up your mind about what you of your own understanding, then you can never learn anything from the person who you are seeking. So humbleness is the primal quality. Humility and submissiveness. When submissive means ready to listen, right? Putting oneself down, not in a way that somebody would dominate us or something. It's not like in the material sense. In the spiritual sense, it is basically with that mind that I don't know. I have some ideas. I need to unlearn. If I have some previous ideas, I have to unlearn and inquire, ask in a submissive spirit, and learn from the teacher, from the spiritual master. Why? Because they have seen this truth already. They are on the path, but they're ahead of on the path. So when I am on a path, I don't know the route, I better inquire a person who has already gone through the path and who had achieved already the perfection of life. Yeah. So ultimately, all of us have to have a spiritual master. So even in our ISKCON society, as long as you follow, there are 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and what else, Prabhu? No illicit relations.
Yeah, yes.
As long as one follows these principles and chants the names of Lord every day, fixed round, 16 rounds, one becomes eligible to accept a spiritual master. There are many qualified spiritual gurus within ISKCON society who have served their spiritual master, which is Srila Prabhupada, who has authored this book as well as many other books. They're all qualified people. They're all self-realized souls. Many, very advanced souls. One can, once one is ready for with all these things, they can actually take the shelter of a guru and get, guru's blessings and initiation. I mean, without that we can make progress, but it's not going to be as fast as you would with the help of a guru. The path of self-realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. And who is the guru who we should accept as a guru? Only a bona fide guru. We should accept him. We should not accept any self-proclaimed God or guru. He should be coming in a line of teachers, in a line of Guru Parampara should be there. Means that guru should be a disciple of a very qualified guru. And so go back in that line. Ultimately, the line should have connection up to the teacher of Gita, which is Krishna himself. If you are in a line of teachers that is directly connected to Krishna, it means that original teachings that are given by Krishna were passed down by the spiritual teachers in the line of disciplic succession without any modification in the same original purport, right? So that is the kind of line of teachers we want to take shelter of. We don't want to take shelter of any random guru who in the name of guruship they create some magics and this and that, they solve your material problems. We don't want such gurus. We want a guru who is going to take us back to who provide, who gives us the opportunity to self-realize ourselves in this very life. So this is very important. We need to take shelter of a guru in a guru parampara, disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master. Lord is the Paramaguru, means the ultimate spiritual master. And a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. Now we are not, when we are discussing Bhagavad Gita, we are basing it on a book. I'm not talking out of my own ideas or mind, right? Even when Prabhupada gives these verses, he's going to give authoritative word-to-word synonyms. Look at many books, they don't give any such synonyms. The reason is it brings authority to the book, translation and the purport. The purport gives the understanding of the disciplic succession. Okay? So the meaning behind this verse, the purport behind this verse, and how we can apply in our own life. So Rinku Mataji has a question here. If people don't have a guru and do bhakti or puja, then will they make similar progress? Similar means the person who has a guru. It will not be the same, Mataji. Because if you want to be connected to, if you want to achieve perfection, you cannot directly go to Krishna by your own effort. God, you cannot achieve. You need the pathway through the spiritual master. We are not given a direct approach to Krishna by our own efforts. You can chant, you can make progress. Definitely there will be progress if you chant without any guru also. But to achieve perfection, one ultimately needs a spiritual master. It need not happen today, tomorrow, whenever you are ready. It's not like you need to have a guru in the next 1 year or 5 years, whatever. I mean, I took about 2004 to 2011. Yeah, 7 years before I accepted a guru. It's a journey. We learn. It's a when you are ready, I'm going to help you with that, right? So nothing to worry. Just understand the principle for now. There is in many paramparas, they just give as soon as a disciple comes, they are very happy to give. But in our society, they actually make sure the disciple is really qualified. Because it's a very important relation between guru and sishya. It's a lifetime commitment. It's a bond for lifetime. You cannot change a guru after you accept a guru. So it's a very turning point of your life. So, and it comes as an inspiration. It's not like, oh, I have like 10 options. I can pick a guru. It doesn't work like that. It comes as an inner inspiration. When you are ready for it, actually Krishna himself guides you to a guru. It happened with me. It happened with so many people like that. It's your readiness. Just like when the land is fertile, the crop would be ready to grow, right? Until the land is fertile, how much ever you drop, it doesn't grow. So when we start practicing chanting, attending these classes regularly, slowly the desire comes in your life, to become more and more sincere in this effort. And then you start seeing yourself some changes in your own life, how you are reacting to things in your life. So in this way, you make a steady progress over a period of time. And you will be self-inspired when you are ready to accept a guru. At that time, we will all be there to help you whenever you're ready. Right? It's not something to be done on an urgent basis. Oh, he has a guru, I have to have a guru. It doesn't work like that. It's completely on your own journey. Right? At the right time, it happens. The Bhagavatam says, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead onto the right path. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. So this is the ideal way in which one should serve the spiritual master. But unfortunately, we don't get the opportunity to be with the spiritual master as grihasthas. We don't. The spiritual master will not stay in one place for more than 3-4 days. So where is the opportunity to serve him like that? But you don't serve him physically, but you serve. Right now, I'm giving a class. It is also service to my spiritual master. That's how I see. Right? I chant every day. That is also service to spiritual master. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. So this is a very powerful statement. So when we are able to satisfy the spiritual master, that makes us advance spiritual life. It is not by our own effort, how mindfully I'm chanting. It doesn't work like that. Spiritual progress is descending mercy, meaning it comes from top. It is a blessing. It is not something that you acquire. In the material world, everything is, I work hard and I get. But here, of course, you have to work hard, but it is the blessing of the spiritual master that makes us progress massively. Right? So, if we are blessed by a spiritual master, we make a rapid progress. Means you can clearly see yourself. Your consciousness is so changed when you satisfy him. Right? Many people have such experiences. It's not, I'm just making up. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Meaning, you have to inquire. You have to inquire from the spiritual master how you can progress in the spiritual path. Right? Just like in the material science, right? It's also science, spiritual science. So you grow through questioning, just like Arjuna was questioning in so many ways to Krishna, so that his understanding becomes clearer and clearer. So we need to question. Through questioning, we develop. And how do we question? In a submissive spirit, not thinking that I know better than he, or what he's teaching is not what I need. In this way, we should have right attitude that we should have. By his kindness, he is giving me time and energy and trying to help me in the way it's possible. That's how we have to see whomever we are trying to acquire knowledge from. So unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. You have to serve him in some way. Whatever way, you could have some different projects. You can help build a website, or could be monetary help, or translating his lectures, whatever, or you cooking for him if there is opportunity. Many ways you can help. One must be able to pass this test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. You see, the understanding comes with the blessing of spiritual master. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. You should not either blindly follow or inquire about material things, or politics. You should not do. You should not waste the time of spiritual master. Not only one should hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. Yeah, we should question, we should ask, inquire until we get a clear understanding of everything. We should not have any doubts after that. The bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind towards the disciple, just like a father, right? Spiritual master is like a father. He loves us, our material father is for one lifetime, but the spiritual master is for until you land in the spiritual planet. He is the father. The relation between spiritual master and guru sometimes spans life. The disciple, because of his action, he has to come to the material world again. It still is the responsibility of the same spiritual master whom you accepted to take you back to Godhead. So he will be there to you, for you to help. So in this way, it's a very responsible position to be a guru, as well as a responsible position as the disciple. If a very, a good combination is a very good submissive, inquisitive, and service-minded disciple, a guru who is coming in a bona fide sampradaya, thoroughly practiced in spiritual practices and had achieved perfection through his sadhana. Right? So in this kind of combination results in a very good result ultimately. Right? One makes swift progress spiritually and achieve perfection in this life. So therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. Yeah, Hare Krishna. What is that, Mataji? Rinku Mataji, what is explained? She has a question here. In Dattatreya ji's chapter, who is Dattatreya ji? Yeah, I don't know who is Dattatreya ji. Yeah, there are many people who give various translations. That's the reason I'm saying we should accept. We should not start reading a Gita copy of any person who has written a version of Gita by his own understanding. Many people write, um, many people write about Bhagavad Gita. Even politicians write about Bhagavad Gita. Sports stars have written about Bhagavad Gita, and their angle and vision and understanding is, uh, far off from what the real purpose is. Even many so-called gurus also have written. I'm not saying everybody is off track, but many are off track actually. So we should be very careful. Just like when you want to buy gold, there are so many people who are ready to cheat, isn't it? Because they can get good money for a low price. So similarly, there are many gurus who just want some resources of the disciple, maybe some money, maybe some buildings, some help in some projects. Their business is that one. So I'm not saying the person who read from is not bona fide or what, but there are many interpretations which need not be fully aligned with a Guru Parampara way of understanding, like here. But you take any Guru Parampara book, whether it is Ramanujacharya's line, Sri Sampradaya, or Madhvacharya's line, the translation and purports are very close because they're all bona fide Sampradayas. Take Ramanujacharya's or Madhvacharya's or Vishnu Swami's versions of Gita. They're all very close to each other. But many other gurus write their own way of understanding. So we don't. There is no way to justify how they are deviated. Yeah, Rinki Mataji, can you give me a reference to the Mataji saying there is some other explanation? Yeah. So I think, yeah, sure. You can give me afterwards, or you can do one thing. You can message me, Mataji, in the WhatsApp. We can take the discussion further in the WhatsApp, and I can summarize to everyone in the next class our discussion. That way, it clarifies for everybody. Okay. So, any questions from anyone? Or any realizations on what we discussed, or any key takeaways for you, or any key learnings or takeaways for you want to share with everyone?
Prabhuji, you mentioned that in ISKCON we can get a guru for us, right? So can you explain your experience? So what difference you see before and after? Like what are the extra things you are doing and how you are communicating? Just whatever possible you tell.
Okay, I'll quickly share. So, the primary difference is actually when one takes the Diksha from the Guru, the first thing that happens is one's karma will be on hold, meaning I might have some, baggage of karma from many lifetimes, right? Now, when I take the shelter of Guru, the first thing that happens is the karma will be put on hold, meaning the reactions won't be severe. Like if I had to go through a severe disease or something, that would be reduced. A token of that will be given, but it's not going to be so adverse as it would have been otherwise. So, and the whole purpose of all of this help from Krishna through a guru is so that we can focus more of our energy through it's just facilitation of our spiritual life in a better way, so that we can make swift progress. I have an experience of being very light after that. Mind is much more clear, and my my resolution to perform, bhakti becomes much more stronger, right? I become, and the things like, Vaikuntha, all these things are very abstract. Does it really exist? That is how, even though I've been reading all of this, hearing all of this, still there is, there is no conviction. So after you take, shelter, things become realistic for you. Meaning, the ideas that seem quite abstract, does really Krishna exist? That continue to exist for a long time until we cleanse our mind a lot. And those things become very realistic for you after that. Meaning you can feel that, yes, nobody can shake you out by giving a different explanation or different purpose or anything for you, because you're highly convinced of these facts. So that kind of transformation comes in life. You have a lot more conviction, a lot more lightheadedness. Your karma is on hold, and you start seeing that you are making progress. So seriously, what more we need, right? That's a big change.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So I wish all of you also advance spiritually, and one day take shelter of a guru, and nothing urgent. I mean, it's just a natural process. It should happen naturally over a period of time. Nothing should be, become a process of thought. Should I do this or not? It should not happen like that. When you are ready, it comes as an inspiration. Anything done out of happiness and inspiration, that stays long forever in your life. Not because somebody has, or so it's like that. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Next week, I will not be able to give the class because I have on-call duty at office, so I may get a call anytime, which may interrupt our class. So I will not have the class next week. So next week is next week. I'll see if Nitin Prabhu can do something for us. If possible, we'll do. Otherwise, we'll not have class. Nitin Prabhu, I'll discuss with you.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Haribol. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.